Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we're going to be doing a video about the stock market. Is the stock market going to crash? And basically what's going to be the future? Where are stocks going to be headed over the next couple of months? That is definitely what I'm going to be answering in today's video. But before I start the video, guys, I just want everybody to know that everything I say in my videos is not financial advice. It is just my personal opinion and for educational purposes only. So with that being said, let's get started with the video. So today, we see the S&P 500 up 600 points, about 1.40%. And today is definitely a big day in the stock market. We have Jerome Powell, our head of Treasury. Basically, he's doing a meeting today at 2:30 Eastern time. And he's definitely going to be talking about basically where he's going to be hiking interest rates. A lot of people are definitely expecting 4 interest rate hikes this year. So that's why there's definitely been a lot of uncertainty in the market lately. Taking a look at the 1 week chart, S&P 500 still down 1,300 points, and at the 1 month chart down basically 3,100 points or $31. And if we see here at the very lowest, it did test the $420 mark, 422 around there, which it did slide into correction territory. Now, a lot of people have been wondering, why is the stock market crashing? Why is everything, continuing to tumble down? Are we headed lower? Are we headed for a stock market crash? Now, I want to give this disclaimer, and there's a lot of people out there who can definitely predict or basically give a good assumption based on analysis and stuff like that of where the market's going to be headed. But we all know that there's nobody out there who can time the market. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the market. We could hit all-time highs next week. Nobody knows what's going on. Do I think that's likely? Absolutely not. But I'm just saying from a general perspective, people are saying, oh, we're going through a market crash. The market's going to tank. SPY is going to 300 and all this stuff. You guys have to understand that, I understand the point of corrections and market cycles and stuff like that, and the fact that we may potentially be entering in a bear market. I am 100% an advocate of that stuff. But when people are saying like, oh, the market's going to crash, it's too difficult to predict overall. But today's meeting is definitely going to give a lot of outlook of where stocks are going to be headed. Now, we all know why people raise interest rates or why the Fed wants to raise interest rates. It's because that's their way of fighting inflation. Now, if we take a look at it from a bigger perspective, raising interest rates is something that the Fed has to do over the course of time. Obviously, he's not going to do it all at once. In today's meeting, me personally, I'm expecting maybe like a 0.25% hike on interest rates. Now, like I said, this is generally pretty good because we do want to fight against inflation. But if we take a look at it from the bigger perspective, what does that mean for stocks overall? Are stocks going to be headed higher? For me, if you have a long-term vision when it comes to the stock market, you have to understand that stocks are going to have their fluctuations. Now, if we take a look at the S&P 500's 5-year chart, it's up 94.72% over the last 5 years. We see the big dip here in the middle. That was because of COVID, and we did have a pretty quick run up after that. But what I'm saying is if we take a look at the 1-year chart, up about 14.36%. That is a much more realistic gain. I think a lot of people definitely got caught in the whole COVID rebound cycle, expecting huge amounts of gains from stocks in a short amount of time. That's generally not how the stock market works. You would be happy if a stock returns you maybe 5-10% every single year. So looking at the 1-year chart, it's still a pretty good chart, up about 14.35%, 3-month chart down about 3.45%. So if you guys have a long-term vision on your stocks and you've done the due diligence, yes, stocks are going to correct. This is a natural part of the market cycles. There's bear markets, there's bull markets, there's corrections. The Nasdaq correcting, I believe it's its 71st correction since 1970, around there. So it's not like the Nasdaq correcting or the S&P 500 correcting, along with the Dow Jones correcting as well, is something new to the stock markets. This happens pretty frequently where we do get a little bit of pullbacks and a little bit of retraces. This is super healthy for the market in itself. Stocks are not going to run up forever. Theoretically they do, but stocks, they're not going to run up forever, and stocks are not going to sink forever. A lot of people out there are definitely panic selling. There's a lot of fear in the market, in my personal opinion. A lot of people say there isn't fear yet, but I definitely see a lot of fear. A lot of people losing a lot of value positions, a lot of money on their portfolios. Like I said, if you've done the due diligence on your companies and you're holding for the long term, then there should be no problem seeing a little bit of a dip, or maybe a big dip, if anything. I know there's stocks out there like Netflix, that did end up tanking about 40-50% from its all-time highs. And you have to understand, like I said, there is overvaluations, guys, and this is completely normal. We see a lot of stocks that are tanking. There's a lot of China stocks that are tanking as well. A lot of European stocks that are tanking. So there's definitely a lot of stuff that's going on in the world that's definitely influencing influencing this and the overall market in itself. Like I said, the biggest one, in my personal opinion, is the Fed hiking interest rates. This does play a big part in the market. Like I said, we do have the Fed talking here in a little bit, so I'm very curious to see what Jerome actually does have to say about his hike on interest rates. And my personal opinion, I do think that he's just going to say we're going to hike interest rates again in March. But taking a look at it from a bigger perspective, if you've done the due diligence and you're holding these stocks, it should be from a longer term perspective. Now, for me personally, I do not think we're going to go through a stock market crash. And if we were, it definitely would not be this year. I don't think we're actually going to go through a stock market crash. What I do think we're going through is a correction. Yes, there is some stocks that have crashed, quote unquote, meeting that 50% mark. Do I think the S&P 500 is going to crash by 50%? No, I don't think so. And if it were to happen, like I said, it's definitely not going to be this year. A lot of people are comparing today's time to 2008 and the early 2000s, which I'm associating with the dot-com bubble. And for me personally, I do not think that those are really correlated in the sense. I don't think that we're kind of in the same position as we were back in 2008 and 2000. Do I think we may retest lower? Yes, it's always a possibility. But for me, in my personal opinion, I think, a lot of the stuff should have been priced in, and the fact that obviously you're not going to keep interest rates at zero forever. So people kind of having a little bit of an overreaction to the Fed hiking interest rates personally doesn't make sense to me. We have COVID running around, and we have Ukraine-Russia tension and the fact that Russia may invade Ukraine. So there's a lot of other stuff that's actually influencing the stock market as well, other than the fact that the Fed is actually going to be hiking interest rates. But seeing this quick of a pullback, guys, just know it is pretty healthy. If you guys are holding your positions and you're not gambling and you guys have done the due diligence, then holding your stocks for the long term is definitely going to be the safest play here. Like I said, for me, I don't think we're going to go through a stock market crash. Do I think we may retest a little bit lower? Yeah, that's always a possibility. Like I said, no one can really predict what the market is going to do. We could have 10 straight green days in a row, although unlikely, but I'm just saying from a general perspective, there's no one out there who's going to be able to predict what the market's going to be able to do. But what we can predict is if you've done the due diligence on your companies and you're holding for the long term, there should be no reason why people are overreacting and selling as fast as possible. Like I said, for me, I'm still holding my positions. Yes, I'm down money on some of my positions, a lot of my positions. And here's the thing. I'm not really too worried about it right now. I do think in the long term that it is eventually going to recover. Like I said, a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. And, who knows what's going to come out of the meeting today. But for me personally, I don't think the stock market is going to continue to crash. I do think that we may re-enter the correction territory around the 10% mark. I'm not entirely sure. Everything I say in my videos is not financial advice. It is all just my personal opinion, but I do want people to understand that, this is completely normal. What we're experiencing does happen all the time. And this even happened in March 2020. This happened in 2018. This is completely normal to see the stock market have corrections. It's super healthy for the market in itself. The market is not generally going to go up forever without having some form of a correction. In my personal opinion, do I think that the SPY is going to continue going up from here? In my personal opinion, I do. I do think that SPY will retrace the 480 mark. Maybe around April, May-ish, maybe June-ish time is going to be my best guess. So I would say maybe second half of the year, when there's better outlook, maybe better control of COVID, and there's a lot of company valuations and that have kind of been put more into check. Definitely taking a look at it from the bigger perspective. I do expect earnings for a lot of companies to be better second half of the year than I do first half of the year. But generally speaking, it is a tough time in the market, guys. I just wanted to give a general recap. I do not think that the stock market is going to go through a crash. Do I think that we're in correction territory? Do I think we'll continue to correct? Maybe for a little bit, but in my personal opinion, and like I said, just in my personal opinion, I do feel like we've hit a bottom overall. Here, I do think that we're going to slowly maybe see a little bit of a trickle downward, maybe retest 420, but then I do think that we actually will see a trickle back up. This is just my personal opinion because people are going to start rotating back into sectors when they find it safe. And the whole kind of scare dies down in itself. I expect to see the same thing around March time because there's another meeting that's taking place on March 15th and the 16th. Of this year that's also going to discuss the hike of interest rates. In my personal opinion, like I said, this should have already been priced in because, like I said, inflation, to counteract inflation, rising interest rates is the only way to counteract that. So people to think that interest rates were going to stay zero forever was probably definitely should have been something that, should have been priced into the market already, but I guess it wasn't, with a lot of external factors as well. But with that being said, guys, that's all I really have to say about the video. You guys let me know down in the comments section below, guys, what you think of the stock market right now. Are you guys selling out of your stocks? What do you guys think of the recent pullback? Do you guys think this is healthy? Do you guys think we're going to tread lower in the stock market? I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. With that being said, guys, thank you. Have a great day.